Right, everyone. This is Cash and Sport. My name is Ngobile Ndlovu. I am the co-host of Cash and Sport, a podcast and a blog platform where we discuss all things sports business, the money side, the behind the scenes, the intricacies, the politics, and everything that happens in the shadows. With me today is Vuyisanani Mangisa, and Vuyisanani Mangisa is a former athlete, a sports freak, just like myself. Sans, take it away. Let the people know what you're about, who you are, and introduce yourself to the squad.
I'm Vuyisanani Mangisa. Some people know me as Sanani, sneakerhead, wine lover. I managed to play 112 caps for the national hockey team. And that made me play some Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, World Cup, and a few other tournaments here and there. So looking forward to bringing you Cash and Sport with Ngobile. And this has been a long time in the making, so quite excited for it.
Wow, talk about modesty. Just an Olympic Games, Nyana. You know, this woman she played a few Olympics, more than one. The one time she ruptured her Achilles, came back in just over 3 months to make it to an Olympic Games, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, she's a beast. Yeah. She's an animal. She knows her sport quite well, but she also loves the business side of sport. And in this episode, we wanted to introduce you guys to a special thing that we want to do around the readiness of federations for the Olympics. We're just over 90 days, just about 100 days or so to go to the Olympics that will be taking place in Tokyo, Japan. It's an amazing Olympic event that's going to be taking place this year. And there is so much to talk about, you know, the athletes themselves, the readiness for, you know, different federations, why some teams are looking for money and some teams aren't. We'll get into that. And we want to bring you everything that there is to talk about with regards to the Olympics this year. Of course, we've got an Olympian to bring you, you know, some first-hand perspectives into what she went through at the Olympic Games that she went through. But Sans, take us through, you know, just the thinking around why are we looking at this specifically, and why is it such a big deal?
Yeah, man, I think Cash and Sport looking into the Olympic Games for me has been always to bring the fans closer to Olympic Games. We're a proud sporting nation. We love our sport. We get fully behind our teams. But there's always been this question mark. And when it comes to Olympics, we're not sure who's participating, where, what disciplines in the Olympic Games. And we've never been one of those proud Olympic countries. And I mean, what better way to bring the fans closer to Olympic Games than giving them the data, giving them the facts, giving them the research, and just get the fan ready for the 23rd of July when the Olympics starts. So that's what we want to do on this platform. We just want to engage with our fans on an Olympic level, go into depth about the federations, the athletes, who's the greatest South African Olympian of all time. You know, look at the medal hopefuls, look at the past Olympics and the ones coming up. Yeah, so as I said, 23rd of July is the start of the Olympics. So we just over 12 weeks, we'll bring you an episode each week. We'll look at the athletes that will be part of, call it 11,000 special Olympians this year. And I call special because when you're an Olympian in a pandemic, you're pretty a special one. So our South African athletes will be part of 11,000 athletes across 33 sports and 50 disciplines. And I'm looking forward to that because there's new sports that have been introduced. When I went to the Olympics, we didn't have call it breakdancing. We didn't have surfing. We didn't have wall climbing. So these are non-traditional Olympic sports. But I think this is the IOC's way of getting more fans into Olympics. So I'm looking forward to unpacking that and really just bring on a few guests who are going to talk to us about the new sports and looking at the money of Olympics, which really gets me excited because as much as I was an Olympian and I am Olympian, I understand that this costs a lot of money. So we'll look into that, do our research, bring you the content, and really just engage on that level.
Yeah, cool. So, you know, in episode 1, right, we wanted to take a look at just what is the history like in terms of the Olympics, South Africa's participation in the Olympics. You know, the Olympics has been around for a very long time. South Africa's involvement in the Olympics or participation goes back all the way to 1904. So that's how long we've been in the Olympics. And we were in the Olympics for a very long time. I mean, between 1904 and 1960, was it 1960 exactly.
Yeah, 1960.
When we got barred from the Olympics and pretty much every other Olympics or international sport because of apartheid. We've been participating for a long time. Over that period, and even since readmission, the total number of medals that we've picked up in the Olympics is 86 medals. And actually, you were at the Olympics with the worst medal haul ever. I think we got one.
Oh, you were always going to bring this up. Yeah.
Jeez, man.
2008.
It was Hoto, right, who got a bronze in the triple jump. That was our only medal at 2008. My goodness. Sanani, you guys brought down the group average hard. But anyway, you're here now. We forgive you.
Let me tell you a story, though. Let me tell you a story about that Olympics. So the sponsors put up these pots of money. Gold medalists, you'll share X amount of money. Bronze medalist, silver medalists, you'll share X amount of money, and bronze. So now everyone's like excited. Let's go medal because you're going to get a chance to get some money. Yeah. When we come back with one, Hoto literally took the bronze medal money, divide by one, go home. So it's dismal. So our best has been 10 medals, and that was Rio 2016 in one games. But our worst has actually been one. So not our best feat.
So we're on an upward trend. Since 2008, we started here from the bottom here, and then we're going up towards 10. Hopefully,
it can only go up from one.
Exactly. Hopefully now in the 2020 Olympics, which are now being hosted in 2021. Hopefully now we'll have, better performances. But we will also be looking at hopefully speaking to some athletes who will be guests on this podcast, on this platform, and, get some firsthand accounts because, trying to train in a pandemic, COVID protocols, vaccines, all of that stuff, influences your performance, and some countries will be more prepared than others. But in any case, what are the teams that are, or the federations that have qualified or who will be at the Olympics? So we have aquatics, which is swimming, which we are traditionally strong in as South Africa, artistic swimming, which is synchronized swimming, the dancing underneath the water stuff, which is hard, diving, water polo, and that would be men and women. And then we have athletics, again, traditionally strong. We have two athletes who are trying to get ready for the Olympics in different ways. Wade van Niekerk, trying to get back into, the swing of things. He was injured. Had a pretty nasty ACL injury, and then Caster Semenya trying to fight for her way, for her right to participate in her favorite event, because she's taken the issue to the Court of Human Rights now, where she's been trying to get permission to come back and compete in her favorite 800 and 1500, and then as well as sport climbing, cycling, which is mountain bike, road and track. Equestrian, which is horses, which is eventing, and dressage, which is the horses that dance, hockey, men and women. There is an issue around men trying to raise funds, and the ladies, as far as I understand, are being funded. So that's another issue that we have to discuss. Rowing, rugby, men. Sailing, soccer, men, which will be the under 23 sides, because there is no the four international sides are not allowed. Yeah, the senior side is not allowed. And then surfing, that's the last federation that we have. I'm surprised we don't have a breakdancing team already going to the Olympics, because traditionally South Africa is very, very strong at breakdancing. So I would hope that that something does happen and we see a South African breakdancing team in the Olympics in 2021 in Japan. So that's
we need to look at
federations. That. Yeah, we will definitely look at why some federations are not sending teams. You have some very good insight into how they seed this year, or what qualifying is, or medal hopeful is, because that's what SASCOC is using as the measure for who they're going to fund and who they aren't. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think we're going to dive deeper into it in one of the episodes, but I think we need to make our audience aware is that there was a time where SASCOC said they could take X amount of athletes because that's what they can afford, and those probably would be medal hopefuls. But there was also a time where the federations voted to take everyone who qualifies, which that's the way it should be. So we'll look into that. What does a vote do that says, okay, we'll take everyone, but the money needs to come from somewhere. So there needs to be a combination of money that comes from SASCOC and the federations, and how does that pot of money come together?
Yeah. Another thing we'll look at obviously is which federations actually have the money to put towards their athletes going. Because that's another issue altogether. We have a situation where some federations don't have money, and they're wholly reliant on SASCOC, despite, it's a very interesting and sad situation for some athletes. Some athletes, will be fine because they will always be funded, if you look at men's football, for instance, I don't think we'll ever have an Olympics where men's football isn't going to the Olympics. That's,
unless they don't qualify.
Yeah, unless they don't qualify. But if they do qualify, they're almost certain to go. But in any case, there we are. That's the federation that will definitely be at this year's Olympics. We also wanted to touch on the money side of the Olympics, and that's the Olympics overall. The money side doesn't just talk to the federations in South Africa. Do the Japanese even want us there financially? I was looking at a report earlier this morning, which is talking to a third of businesses in Japan, only a third of businesses that were making money from tourism and visits are making any money.
That's probably outside of the ones who refused to give refunds last year. We've also got to call those guys out. Is that there's certain hotel groups who downright refuse to give money back in a pandemic, or even hold the reservation for this year. So that's got to be called.
It's crazy to not give a refund, knowing that people aren't even allowed to come into your country. I mean, the greed is unbelievable. Yeah. And then on top of that, you have small inns and people who have small businesses that invested a lot of money anticipating an influx of visitors. But now the IOC has said that visitors are not allowed. It's only going to be athletes. So, on top of that, Japan has invested huge amounts of money. I mean, this project went from 7 billion to 12 billion last year, and now it's going to cost 15 billion to put this on. We haven't even spoken to what the vaccination is going to cost, what it's going to cost to have a bubble, whether the bubble will even hold, because we've had major international events which have had to be, cancelled. Look at South African rugby, for instance, where I mean, we haven't played a game and we since the World Cup.
Since we're victory,
because of
we're the
COVID.
greatest champions.
Yeah.
No one's beaten us since the World Cup. And
it's crazy.
I'm sticking to that. No one's beaten us since the World Cup.
England came here to play cricket, and they left because the bubble got compromised. So how do you get athletes from
we can discuss
all
that.
We will discuss that one. But how do you get athletes from all over the world?
They went home.
Yeah, they went home. True. Yeah. But what I was saying is, how do you get athletes from all over the world, right, into one country, into one city, let alone one country? That's over 11,000 athletes into one place, and you have to secure them in a bubble. And I don't even know how you do that.
Add coaches, add administrators, add volunteers that need to make sure the games run, and then add 11,091 athletes from different countries with different COVID protocols in each country, vaccination protocols. Do you vaccinate the athletes before frontline workers? What if an athlete doesn't want a vaccination? So, and we're going to do a lot of research and look into that. So do athletes need to quarantine before they leave their countries, quarantine on arrival? How many tests are they having? Are they having daily tests, weekly tests? And there's some countries that are on each other's red zones, and how does that work? So there's a lot to discuss about having an Olympic Games in a pandemic and how that's going to be handled. And as we said before, the money associated with it, when this thing was awarded, as you mentioned, in 2013, it was 7 billion. It's just 7 odd billion. Jumped to 12 odd billion in 2019. Now with all those vaccination measures in place, or the COVID measures in place, we're looking at 15.4 billion. Does any economy need this or not? So it becomes an interesting one, and that's the beauty of it. We'll debate it. We'll get our audience to come in and chat to us, and also I've been asked outright, do I think we need an Olympic Games? So as an Olympian, I say yes, because I understand there's athletes who've worked hard. At the end of their career, this is their last Olympic Games. There's athletes who are just coming out. This is their start of the Olympic Games. Just starting their careers, and this is their first Olympic Games, and they've also just worked hard to get here. So how do we then balance that? And then I have to wear my other hat, which is just a human being who says, I don't know, I've seen these bubbles. I've seen them 1 or 2 compromise. The only bubble that's worked for me, and it should be the litmus test or the benchmark for any bubble, was the NBA bubble. But then again, no one was allowed in or out of that bubble. You know what I mean? So it was the strictest bubble.
But let's be
one exactly.
There were some guys there who did some dodgy things.
Yeah.
On the women's side, yes, that bubble worked.
But I mean, men are always gonna men, because they literally, they fetched takeaways from the gate. That's a no-no. That was a no-no.
Yeah.
They the COVID testers got invited to rooms. That's a no-no. So now that was only one venue. Now you've got you got 33 sports across 50 disciplines at the Tokyo Olympic Games. So how's that bubble going to hold? Will it hold? Who also, once you've done competing, do you go straight home? Because the beauty of Olympic Games was like, okay, I'm done competing. I have a little bit of fun as an athlete at the Olympic Games. That's out the window now. So we're going to look at all of that, dive deep into it, understand the money that's going to it, understand, how does also this Olympics affect France, coming up 2024. You've had, this Olympics 1 year later, that one will still stay in 2024.
Yeah.
But what are the permutations of that? But we're going to really dive in and have a keen focus on South Africa.
Yeah, there's a crazy story for me that I think we definitely need to look at closely. The variants. The variants of the different strains of the vaccine, and how some countries may be barred completely from even going, regardless of the athletes, because their strains are just. For instance, we got banned. South Africans can't even go to London or America.
Yeah, we're on the red list of different countries. Yeah.
Sands is a great person to have for this, because she has on the ground experience from the Olympics, just on that part, and as an athlete. There's so many things that you get to go through as a professional elite level athlete that just the average person won't have sight of. So I think having Sands on this podcast is a great addition. And we look forward to bringing you guys amazing content over the next little while.
Yeah, I'm also going to dive into a bit of what happens in the village, give you those village stories that no one gets to hear about, what happens behind the scenes at the Olympic Games, whose parties are the best, and those kind of things. But we'll dive deep into that. And we'll also touch on my favorite topic, the greatest South African Olympian. Some people have got their own favorites. Some people look at stats. Some people look at return on how many Olympic Games you've been to. If you got medals out of 3 out of 4 or 2 out of 4, we'll look into that and really have a good discussion about that. Like the fans to chip in, on those kind of discussions, and already tackle, who's your greatest South African Olympian?